Okay.
How are you feeling, Tony? Do you have any thoughts?
On the season?
No, just on what we're about to do.
No, not really.
Okay. You sound so good in that microphone. Okay, let's get started then.
Welcome to Hold Fast, the LARP podcast. October event memories. The Harrowing.
The Harrowing.
Yeah.
Ooh, so spooky.
But what does it mean?
But what does it all mean? Hi guys, welcome to Hold Fast. We're back again with another event memories episode, and we're also going to wrap up the season because unfortunately we just had our last game of the year.
Mm-hmm. October's the last game.
So sad. But on this episode we have our lovely AD, Sharon Norton.
Word.
And we have one of our cast members. Do you have like an official title within cast?
His name is Rob.
No.
The Rob.
That's accurate.
And we have our Rob Wilde. For those of you who don't play with us, we had Sharon and Rob in for the May episode where we just kind of talked about what was going to happen this season. So we thought that we would just put a little bookend on it. We would just kind of close up the season with a nice little... I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Let's get into it.
A nice little discussion about the season, what they liked about it, how the season went, and just general stuff.
Thank you, Tony.
I
needed that. All right, so October event memories. Who wants to kick us off? Because I don't remember anything that happened that Friday night.
Once we start talking about it, I'll start remembering more.
I think it was
stuff.
skeletons.
It was pumpkin
there was a lot of
skeletons.
skeletons.
There were pumpkin skeletons.
Sharon
Right.
was adamant about this.
We
couldn't get away from it.
It was. I don't know when I got the sudden inspiration, but suddenly I was like, because people were going, "Oh, we need to have it's going to be the Halloween thing. We need to have a theme, like something." And then suddenly I was like, "Pumpkins! Everything needs to be pumpkins," because I love pumpkin pie. So I had to fit pumpkin pie in there, and we had skeletons, which we were thinking, "Oh, we'll just do the regular sort of Friday night skeletons, Hellions." But how do we make it Halloweeny when that's kind of a regular thing?
Mm-hmm.
And so mine was, well, the skeletons have rising up from under a pumpkin patch, and so that's why they have pumpkins on their heads.
Excellent.
She stressed that there was nothing magic about the pumpkins or anything. It was just that they happened to be spawning underneath the pumpkin patch.
Oh my god.
That was all she wanted.
That's
She wanted
okay.
it so bad.
It reminds me
And she
of...
wouldn't stop talking about it.
It reminds me of that episode of Over the Garden Wall. Have you guys ever seen that? No. Over the Garden Wall has an episode where they go to a place called Pottsville, and it's like a bunch of skeletons that wear pumpkins on their heads. Totally off topic. So we had pumpkin skeletons. There was a really great moment that night where I shot a Hellion, but like through the stairs.
Yeah, I felt that.
Yeah. it was
me.
you. Yeah, no, there was a Hellion and there was pumpkin skeletons.
The Hellions, by the way, had I've been excited about this all season. We got that. I don't know who got to see it. I think you.
I got to see it.
Yeah. We had a mask commission because all throughout the season I've been slowly having the Hellions evolving for anybody who'd been paying attention. And people were noticing. Not everybody did, but they were slowly changing and developing new attributes. And finally, the superficial aspect, where I finally got to bring out that mask. And
was that the black mask with the red eyes?
Yeah.
And that was really cool, actually. Yeah.
We only had the one, but I was excited about that.
Actually, almost left it at home.
Oh no!
We did leave it at home, and then we were
turned the fuck around.
We hadn't quite got to the Tims and the Goulds when Rob was suddenly like, "Son of a!" and we had to turn around.
Oh, that's what that was.
Yep. Yep.
That's why she didn't want it on the dresser above.
Okay.
Because our dresser is right at the end of our bed.
Yeah.
And so he wants to put this Hellspawn mask right at the top of the dresser staring down at us.
What's wrong with that?
For me to wake up to. It's great.
I don't see anything wrong with that.
So I said to the closet.
So what did you do Friday night? Anything? Any Kron smash?
Well,
that came out.
There was a lot of stuff.
That's something I specifically remember with Kron was just at some point he abandoned Graham or had to abandon something, and was just running around squashing, like just breaking necks and then curb stomping all of these skeletons in quick succession.
Yeah. I did a lot of fighting on Friday night. The waves of skeletons were like the main thing, but there was a lot of stuff that happened with that. Yes, at some point I did abandon wouldn't say I abandoned Graham. I just happened to not have him at the time, or at least during the event that Sharon just mentioned. Mm-hmm. Basically, I had most of the night I had spent hucking people into the inn to get medic back up to 1. I think at which point
I think I experienced that at some point.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did it to like everybody that game.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think I put Graham into the inn and came outside to see if there was anyone else, and there wasn't, but there was a fuck ton of skeletons. So I walk out to the center of the bridge, and there's like a skeleton coming, and then I go, okay, nope, not going out there, and I turn around, and there are 2 more skeletons coming up on the deck behind me. So now I'm like flanked. So what I do is I make a beeline into the field, and just more and more skeletons started surrounding me. So what I did was panic, essentially, run up to each skeleton, grappled them, and then squished their skull. And then I ran over to the next one, did the same thing, broke their neck or squished their skull, ran over to the next one, and it was just this chain of going around, smashing all of these skulls.
Rapid fire.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I went around the circle again to just double tap and curb stomp to make sure they were down.
I can't remember if this was that night. Was Alex zombieing?
Yes.
Or he skeleton?
Alex
okay, yeah. Because, we had a really good moment where I was basically down to, like, 1 health, and he was, like, swinging at me with, like, 2 axes, and he was, like, just barely. Yeah, no, we had a good time fighting each other.
We had bats after that, too, I think.
There was a lot of there was bats, there was skeletons, there was hellions. What else was there that night?
I think that was it.
We wanted to just fit in those 3, and we weren't sure if we would be able to fit in either hellions or actually hellions wasn't going to happen because it was so wet, and I didn't want to get the mask wet. Mm-hmm. But I thought, nope, I want them to see it.
Yep. Yeah.
And so we did 1 spawn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it was just 2 hellions, but we made them last.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So it was just a Halloween spectacular night, it would seem.
Those bats were a freaking menace, though.
The bats tend to burrow into people, and getting them unburrowed is a task. It's
they just want to snuggle next to your appendix and never leave.
No, it's terrible.
I
Shut the
wait.
fuck up.
Hey, I've been batted myself.
I was, oh my
As
God.
an NPC, I've been batted.
I got batted the first time ever on Friday night, and I almost died. And it was almost thanks to Datura that I almost died. I've told the story like twice, but I'm going to tell it again.
I haven't heard it, so please
really?
tell me.
Okay, so...
Clearly we're salty about it, so you have to tell it.
Okay. So, just a little background. I have a skill called Hardycon, but I have the 2nd level of Hardycon. So basically, normally when you go into your bleed, you have a 10-minute bleed count, right? Every level of Hardycon that you have doubles that level of bleed. So Hardycon 1 doubles it to 20, and then to 40, and then so on and so forth.
Right.
So I have Hardycon 2, so my bleed out is 40. However, when the bats burrow into you, it reduces your bleed to 1 minute.
Oh, no.
So because I had Hardycon 2, my bleed was 4 minutes. And when the bat burrowed into me, I went unconscious, went into my bleed, and I fell down behind the inn where absolutely almost no one could possibly find me.
I remember seeing Tony fall as a skeleton and went, well, bye, Kron.
Yep, I was like, this is it. This is what's going to do it. This
what
is
do they
how I
call
die.
that? They call it Gank Alley?
Yep.
Because that's just where everyone dies?
It wasn't by the outhouses. It was on the other side, leading toward the fire circle.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We need a name for that too, because that is also somewhere where I would never go in the middle of the night to look for anybody.
So I actually fell down next to the bridge, just around the corner there, and I was like, "There's no way, anyone's gonna find me." So anyway, I start the timer, and Pepper, who was playing the bat at the time, just kneels down next to me. He's like, "I am so sorry." I'm like, "It's okay, dude. I only had like a little bit of HP left, but I mean, we'll see what happens." So about a minute goes by, and I'm losing all hope at this point. I'm like, there's just no way no one's gonna find me. And here comes Datura, blended with the shadow, walking up towards me. I'm like, oh my God, thank fuck that someone just found me. But instead of doing anything about it, Datura just stays blended with the shadow and looks down at me for I don't know how long, but he's just looking. And in my head, I'm like, what are you doing?
Like, literally, you just staring at me is gonna get me killed.
Exactly. He's just looking at me, and I don't know what he's thinking, but I'm just like, dude, you got to do something really fast because my timer is running out.
Put the edgelord away.
Exactly.
And find some fucking help.
But like, not only am I unconscious, even if I was conscious, I couldn't speak to him anyway because he's blended with shadows. About not long after that, Zero comes over, and she's blended with shadows. But because they're both blended with shadows, they can communicate with each other. And I just hear them bantering back and forth about who's going to exit the shadow plane to bring me into the inn. And they're arguing about this for about a minute. I'm like, guys, just someone do something.
Well, I'm not going to waste a void mana. Well, I'm not going to waste my void mana.
That's exactly what they were talking about. Like, I don't have any other void mana. I'm not breaking this blend. I'm like, oh my god, this is it. I'm going to fucking die. I'm going to die. This is it. And Mar comes over. And he goes, medic 2, as long as I'm holding on to you, you're conscious. So he picks me up, and I'm like, there's a bat inside me, bring me into the inn right now. And I stopped the timer when he mediced me and brought me in. I had 16 seconds left
to
my bleed. I was this close to dying.
That would be your first death, though, right?
That would have been my first death.
I don't feel bad for you at all.
Grom survived a Kraken. He survived the Ascended.
2 fights with an Ascended.
He survived. He survived an Assassin.
I survived an Assassin. Yeah, I forgot about that.
You survived the Apocalypse.
Yep.
Could have been taken down by a
Could have
bat.
been taken down by a bat.
Just a cute little bat.
Our very first death period with an Epoch that I actually got to do the very first Land of the Dead was taken down by a spider.
Oh, that's sad.
That's kind of
Was that
poetic,
Timian?
Yeah.
Yep.
And players' inability to count.
You're not allowed to tell this story again. I've heard it 72 times.
You've heard it 72 times. Everybody else has only heard it 36 times.
So, like, from a cast perspective, I'll ask you about Saturday night in a minute, but on Friday night, was there any worry for us?
No.
Or we were handling everything?
I mean, bats are always a worry because they can do so much. They're so tiny, but they can do so much if they happen to get inside you.
Right.
But at the same time, we knew there were medics. We knew people more or less knew how to deal with them. The only difference was that they were coming out in pitch black versus the regular dusk.
That was the first time they had come out in actual dark. Before it had, they had a few instances where we brought them out, but it was always like at dusk.
Dusk, yeah.
It was just things are getting slowly sort of stronger and stronger, or showing new abilities, but it's still, we weren't introducing anything that was crazy powerful that nobody had ever dealt with before. We felt confident. There did end up being a death from that night, but that was just one of those like, okay, that's a fight chaos thing that had happened.
Right.
We were like, yeah, everyone's going to be fine on
I can't
Friday.
wait until people figure out the ecology of those bats. I love them so much.
He is so proud of them.
I'm proud of all of his monsties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We keep calling him the
You
Beastmaster.
should be proud.
That's his title to us. He's the Beastmaster. But he's like, no, I'm not. No.
No, you should
It's
be.
too grandiose.
No, not at all. Rob is like, yes, it is. So Saturday morning, let's get into, unless anybody has any other memories from Friday night.
I mean, that's really all I did. Chucking people into the inn, breaking skulls, and almost dying.
I was
That-
sad.
yeah.
I only landed in one puddle as a skeleton.
Oh.
When I went out,
You would be the only one that would be sad about that.
I had to do some AD stuff, and then I'm like, great, I can finally be a skeleton. I love being skeletons.
Really?
I don't know why. That's just my night mob that I love playing.
Okay.
She gets to
And-
let loose.
And so I was just like, yeah, I want to be coming in wet, cold, miserable, tired. This is what I want from this evening. I fell in one puddle.
Oh,
Muffin.
see, that's so funny because, like, on damp nights, I'm like, I'm just going to take a knee. I cannot afford to get my costumes wet. They're all I have. So that's funny that you're like, I want to fall in all the puddles. Skeletons, are they immune to bypass damage? I have it in my head that they are. Or is that a Foig thing?
There's nothing to bypass.
Exactly. That's that's why I had that in my head. It was really sad because we had a new player come in. Her character's called Lumen. She's a friend of mine outside of game. It was super fun to have her in game, and she was like, "I'm an archer," and I'm like, "Your first mob is skeletons. Have fun."
I will say, we treat undead, skeletons, or zombies as the same thing.
Okay.
So it's just an undead creature with more flesh or less flesh on its bones.
Okay.
That's basically zombies and skeletons to us are the same thing. They have the same stats.
Okay.
So.
Cool. Yeah. So I felt bad for her, but she did have a fun weekend otherwise.
Oh, good. I didn't know if she had fun, actually.
Oh, she had the best time. She loves it.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So Saturday morning, I usually just do my coffee runs Saturday morning, so nothing interesting happens. I did bring in a new character that I will get into, but I'll let you start because that wasn't until late Saturday.
You brought it. Oh, right. That was, yeah, I remember that character.
Did you guys get to see my new
I met her,
character?
yes.
Okay, good. Oh, right. Yeah, we did.
I don't know if I actually got to meet her in game, but I did get to see you play her. So
Okay,
She's
good.
delightful.
Yeah.
I actually think I went home Friday night to sleep in the bed, so I didn't come back until like 11 or something. But what came into the what happened like in the morning portion of Saturday? Like, what was brought out?
Goblins. Yeah.
Oh my god!
Oh no,
yeah.
I do have a cute memory. Okay, so last season, the player, I can't remember her goblin's name, but the cast member who plays like Lessa, Jenny, all those people. She had a goblin that had come to Sylvie last year, and I gave her a reading, and you know, she was worried about the king, and you know, the king doesn't like her as much as this other goblin, and blah 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 blah. So she came over this time. She goes, "You gave me really good advice," and blah blah blah. And like I remembered the whole thing. We had this like great conversation. She gave me a hat. I was so happy.
Yeah, it was a hat that cast member had actually crocheted or knitted.
Yeah.
Or however.
Oh, and it was
Her
lovely.
method of construction, but yeah.
It was the best moment of game. But
she remembers stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, me too.
The fun thing is that King Casgavin, she was like, "Is it okay that I were to give Erica this? Like, you know, here's my in-game reasons why. Here's my out-of-game. It's fine.
I love her so much.
It's fine. Go be nice. It's okay."
Her and her husband are like my favorite people. Yeah, that was my Sylvie memory from coffee deliveries. Other than that, they're usually pretty uneventful.
Yeah. Saturday
Just
morning,
arguing people.
even like into the afternoon on Saturday, a lot of it was just collecting little beasties.
I have a very bitter memory, Tony.
That doesn't come until after this, though. So.
I'm intrigued.
Well, most of Saturday was really just us going around collecting as many small monsters as we could, like frogs or spiders and whatnot. Because part of the ritual that the goblins had presented to us. Oh wait, no, I should probably start from the very beginning.
Yeah, let's preface that because I missed a lot of that too.
Okay, so when the goblins came in, they, in their very goblin-like way, came to us and said, it's the harvest season, and we have this great gift to give you guys from the Goblin King, and y'all should be grateful. So the gift was a ritual to give us a golem.
Which, like, there's been a character, it's Jake, the narrator, that's been trying to figure out how to make golems for a very long time, so this was exciting.
Yeah. So the goblins came in and said, we have a ritual to give you guys a golem. It's going to be a pumpkin golem. But part of the ritual was we needed to feed, like, bits and pieces of monsters into this ritual. I don't entirely know what... that's the only part of the ritual that I know. I know that we need to sacrifice beasties, or at least...
It was the bone meal specifically.
Yeah.
They wanted they needed to slay animals on the soil that was being used to nourish the earth, and then specifically take the bones from those animals and then grind them up into meal, which helps the plants to grow.
Yeah, right. I remember that now, because we weren't allowed to kill the monsters. We just had to bring them down, stabilize them if we could, and then bring them to the sacrificial altar.
Wholesome.
There was a bunch of players and characters, I guess, that were just sort of stuck up at the ritual site the whole day. And kudos to them for doing that. I wouldn't be able to do that, but that was most of what Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon was all about, just bringing monsters to this place and making a golem.
So how was that on your end? How did the players do in terms of making golem? I mean, they made it, but
in the sense of like how much they were putting in, they just went hog wild. We're like, okay, I'm making up numbers here. It was like, okay, they'll put in like 10 units of whatever, and they're like, we need literally 1 million units.
So there was a point during the ritual where they, and I should preface this by saying, for any ambitious golem engineers out there, the goblins were very explicit in saying it's not this easy to make a golem.
Okay.
This is like sort of a golem for dummies. It happens once a year for one night only. Like the idea that there's this big trade-off. It's really easy to make comparatively, but it only lasts for one night, and this is a special time, and Holdfast happens to be the place it's happening this year.
Is that because you just don't want us to have a perma golem?
No, because I think it'd actually be really cool if the players did get to that point.
Okay.
But golem engineering, as we've written it, is super complicated, and so it's like baby steps.
Okay.
So the this is sort of like the introductory. So there are elements of traditional golem engineering in there that are the precursor to the more complex steps. I was really hoping that Big Bone would be there. I was so sad when
Jake was not feeling good. But they did it.
Yep.
They did well. wasn't there an explosion at the end of it or something?
So they were supposed to put in, they were supposed to feed herbs, like weave herbs into the limbs of the golem, which were made like of vines and stuff, right?
Okay.
To strengthen it. This was the part that I didn't account for. Because, well, I did. I just didn't think that they would go so hog wild with it. So what they did was...
Sharon's like, do you know our players?
They were supposed to take one portion of the specific herb, one portion of bone meal, and then mix them together, and then weave it into the golem's limbs, those one portions at a time, with earth mana. With the incant, the earth will regrow.
Okay.
And so that's one herb, one bone, and one mana for each of these weaving.
They ended up putting something like 86.
Okay,
mana or something like
but
that?
no, they had
my gosh.
they had like 100 herbs until they realized, wait a second, we need mana for each one of these portions. We don't have that much mana. And then Kikit comes over and just takes her special mana yarn that she had been saving, and which has 20 in it. And I was like, as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh dear. because the spoiler, I mean, it happened already. The golem's base attack stat was just 7.
Okay.
Which is pretty low for a golem. I thought I know they like to save earth mana, so they're not going to go too crazy. I can see it getting to 15 or 16, and no, they just dumped the whole thing in there. I didn't. So that's why I was hitting for 27.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
Every single portion woven in was an extra damage point and grapple point.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you felt that.
God damn it.
So Sharon, what was your morning like?
My morning was a lot of AD stuff.
Okay.
I had to watch a thing. I had to talk to some players. Alex and I had to secretly plot some stuff and send him on his merry way. And then I got to actually go out and cast a little bit, which was...
Oh, come on.
I came in as Misty because Misty is this character I play. She's this 10-year-old...
11 now, thank you.
Cabin boy girl that came across Krond a year previous and decided, I want to follow that guy and learn how to swing that big-ass sword he carries. Got permission from her captain and went to go find him in Holdfast and was shipwrecked, because that's a way to go. Come in.
So now she's
we
just
know
there.
it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the September game, the previous game, it was the Friday night. I had come in, I had nothing else to do, but I was still awake, so I'm like, okay, I'll just come in as Misty. It'll be fine. And that was fine. And people were like, Misty, when's your birthday? She's mute. Here's another fun thing. She's mute. So I'm effectively going, I have no idea. How old are you? Oh, like 10? And they're like, okay. Well, today's your birthday. Okay.
Sure.
Wait, and then they look at the watch and they're like, wait, no, because today's like cluing up soon. So tomorrow will be your birthday. We'll celebrate your birthday tomorrow. And it's like, oh, okay.
What is birthday?
Yeah. Her backstory is effectively she was orphaned at about 5-ish and was raised by a ship of sailors at that point. No, she's not going to be celebrating her birthday. And I didn't get to play Misty the next day because I really only play her when Kron's in, because that's the person that she's
attached
she's
to.
with her,
Yep.
that she's with, and somebody happened to dislocate their collarbone and had to go home. So she never came in the rest of the weekend. Plus, I had other things to do. So I got to bring her. So then everybody out of game were like, okay, well, your birthday is now October. Meanwhile, there's this...
Crazy how you can just pick a day.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there's this
Normally they're an
10-year-old
annual
kid.
thing.
Yeah, 10-year-old kid going, I didn't know this the heck could work like this, but okay. And so I come in on, in that early afternoonish, whatever. And I had one thing that I've been wanting to do since September, and that was to learn Fury in-game.
Yes.
Because, somebody could be like, yeah, you know this, or you know that skill. And you're like, okay, yeah, I don't really need to go through the RP, but you definitely need to go through the RP for Fury. Like, no! I was super excited. Somebody dislocated their shoulder. Fine. I guess I'm not learning Fury in-game. Cool. October happens, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna come in. Tony's having a nap.
Yep, my regular Saturday nap.
That regular Saturday nap. Can't miss it. It's on the schedule.
Yep.
There it is.
This is getting her angry enough. She'll just learn fury by being neglected.
That's the lesson.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And so, but what ended up happening is that everybody else, because she now has, like, Kron's essentially her big brother, and everybody else weirdly are, like, her uncles kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay, well, you're here, let's celebrate your... The other thing is that in September, the player who plays Winnie came up to me afterwards saying, hey, you didn't get to play Misty, but I found Misty, here's her birthday present from me.
Aww.
And it was a set of clothes, because Misty had been kidnapped by Godo and had, her shirt, wrecked, so Winnie gave Misty clothes. So I intentionally wore the shirt that Winnie gave me for Winnie to see, but the player had to go to an exam.
Yeah.
So she wasn't there to see me wear the shirt. Tony was having a nap and I couldn't learn Fury.
You're like, all my plans just ruined.
Then, at the same time, everybody else was like, oh, Misty, it's your birthday. Here's a present, here's a present, here's a present. She's like, all this stuff, I should have these more often.
I do remember at one point, I can't remember what day this was on. It may have even been Sunday, but I was walking past the Citadel and Misty was perhaps sundering the door down.
I wasn't sundering. I was just coming in. I was just coming into town, and I could hear Dagrun talking on the inside of the Citadel. So I was thinking, great, I can find out where Karand is. And I'm hearing somebody about to leave. So then I was, like, readying the blade just to, like, pretend stab into them. And it was actually Datura leaving, but he was Oog at the time. I just didn't know that, because you can't see that through walls. And so he exits, and I just stab right into him and scared the crap out of him. Almost literally, I think. It was fantastic.
Was that Saturday?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, like October game?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Before we get into the big bad who entered Saturday, I do want to talk about my little character who came in.
Yes!
I have a new character. Her name is Marigold. She's nonsense.
She's something, all right.
Didn't she get Garrett, like, charged for...
No, not charged.
No, he didn't get charged with anything. I'll get into the story.
Because I heard about this, like, the second, third hand stories, and I was like, I didn't get to see any of this.
Was there a trial? No, there was no trial. So basically, her whole trope is she's supposed to be like a Disney princess, but just like wrong. like a Disney princess that is just gone. I don't even know how to describe it.
Red Eyes loves monsters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like she thinks monsters are like friends, and she she has like a lot of animal husbandry skill. She has a fuck ton of grapple. Like her dad is supposed to be like this like woodsman kind of thing. So I come into game. And the first person I meet is Garrett. And I'm just, the first person I do meet is Mochi, but you can't really talk to Mochi too much. So
Mochi's also mute.
Yeah, I had a little conversation with Mochi. And then I see Garrett coming across the field. And I'm like, hi, like, it's like, nice to meet you. Are you also a friend? And he's like, yes, like, you're very gorgeous and like, blah, 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 blah. This is my friend, like, out of game. So he knows I'm cool with it. And I was just like, oh, okay. And I just like walk away from him because she's like, I don't know how to respond to that. So then I'm like talking to everyone. It's like such a fun character to play. It's such a good time. And Garrett basically ends up saying some things to me in innuendo that basically he tells me he has a pet bird that he can't show me. Not until we get married. So Marigold's like, oh, like I might have to marry this guy because I really like animals and I really want to meet this pet and blah, 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 blah. So she goes up to Marisi and she's like, yeah, Garrett's like telling me all this stuff, yada, yada, yada. And he goes, oh, okay, that's not what he meant. And he explains it to me and her face just goes, I don't even know the word, just goes
Your face
blank.
just drops.
Yeah, just drops. And I just run across the field, and Garrett sees me running, and I just yell, you are being lewd! And basically, I swung at him with an axe. I didn't manage to get him down. People got me down beforehand. I'm brought into the inn and medicked up where Nico comes to have a stern talk with me, and basically my whole thing is, I didn't know it was wrong. I had no idea it was wrong. That's basically like her whole deal. And the only other thing I really did with her for the rest of the day was grapple people just so I could hold their hands and they couldn't leave me.
I was wondering what was happening.
So here's actually a fun thing with Garrett. He does actually have a pet bird he can't show people. That is not an innuendo.
No, but like on a
He was
nude
probably
level,
very definitely being just dirty with
he
it.
was
but
being lewd. He was being lewd. So yeah, I would walk up to somebody and I would just be like, grapple 5, and they would like grapple 1, and then I would just hold their hand and they'd be like, okay, I'm gonna go over here, and I'd just be like, grapple 5. They'd be like, oh no, I can't get out of this. So I was essentially just like holding people's hands and walking around with them and going wherever I wanted and doing whatever, and it was yeah. Oh, there is one more fun story I'll tell about Marigold. Basically, when all the red cap stuff was happening, there was a red cap, and Kika didn't want to kill it. Lady Val brought it to the fairy circle to talk to Fairy to figure out what they should do with this red cap, if they could change it back. When Lady Val is talking to Fairy, she's looking forward and pointing, and it looks like she's pointing at a very specific tree. So Marigold now thinks this is a magic tree that can turn red caps and other things into princes, and her imagination has really flown away with it. So that's
I like Marigold.
yeah, that's
Well,
kind
I'd
of
like to see
her
how that
thing.
manifests.
Yeah.
And Kron said he was going to teach her Sunder, so there may be
I
a
did
giant
s- I
Sunder
did say
axe
that, yep.
next season for Marigold.
Did you bring her in? Never mind. I'll ask later.
I mean,
What animal taming or beast taming skills does she have?
she
Any
has
specific
Animal
ones?
Husbandry 3.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. That most of her XP has gone into animal husbandry and
Does she
grapple.
have any like beast specialty? Does she have Hellion taming?
Okay.
We'll chat about this later, because if I can get Hellion taming, that would be nice. But I'll tell you what the whole Hellion thing was about
Okay.
later. But yeah, that was basically all I did, and then we got visited by Nero.
Yeah, okay, so
If any of you remember our story, Big Tom's Tall Tales, we got a little bit into the Nero stuff, but Tony, you look like you have some some rants to go on.
Yeah, so Nero was a character that came into game during our ED event last year. He wasn't the big bad of the story, but he was an influential character for that weekend.
He's a dick.
Oh yeah, so
Exactly.
I do want to know, because obviously this was being a huge secret. You know, all of cast was just like bouncing and vibrating with glee, secret glee. How did you guys take it when Nero came in going, yes, I am who you think I am?
I love
Kron
Nero.
wasn't there for that game,
Yeah.
right? So Kron had no idea who Nero was, but
Marigold
Pierre
thinks
would've.
he called Marigold my love, and she was like, is he a prince? I really don't know. Is he my love?
Kind of dressed like a prince.
Yeah. He's kind of cute. Is he?
he could be. But yeah, so Nero was a character that came in last year, and he was played by the player that plays Orin in game, which is Alex.
Who we stan, by the way, on this podcast.
What?
We stan. We're a big fan.
Yes. So yeah, Nero was basically a slave trader, and Big Tom at the time was his henchman. His gig would be he would go into towns, collect a couple people, and then try and ransom them back to the people for like triple their price or something.
Yeah.
The town managed to kill him the last time he was in and sever his head and then just leave him in the woods to rot. And then when the Lich came in, he rezzed Nero and let him keep his consciousness. By the end of the night, when the town had defeated the Lich, Nero managed to get away, so he just fucked off because he was still undead at that point, but he still had his consciousness, so he was fully aware of what he was doing, except now he just wasn't under the Lich's control anymore. He came back this game not only not undead, but ascended.
How is he? Okay, so Godo is not ascended.
Godo is ascended.
Godo is ascended?
This has all been. There are 3 individuals who have come into game who have been
Two have definitely been like, yes, they are.
explicitly stated to
One
be
is-
ascended. One of them,
Is
I think,
has been heavily
Implied.
implied, and we're like, please, somebody make the connection.
Can you give us a brief description on what exactly an ascended is for everyone who's listening?
Yes.
It doesn't have to be anything in-depth or like story revealing, but like basically what is an ascended?
So an ascended person in Epoch is somebody, an individual, specifically a human. Insofar as everybody
this
knows.
is an entirely human characteristic.
Yeah, for whatever
Okay.
reason, it's a human thing, and no other races have been observed to have this trait. It's a person who just is almost demigod-like in what they can do. It can be anybody, really. I believe Lady Val at one point earlier in the season had done like this big dump when she had gone to the library in the Land of the Dead and done research on all this old history, trying to find anything about it. And all that she could ascertain was that it's only humans, and it can be anybody. Like, it could be just a lowly farmhand who, and then one day, for whatever reason, they just snap.
Okay.
And something happens.
Could it be me?
Someone being an ascended is a rare occurrence, right? It doesn't happen just all the time. And yes, anybody can, but it is a rare occurrence.
Okay, but we've had 3 come into our town in the
That's
last
because
year.
things seem to be drawn to
Holdfast.
Holdfast. Yeah.
They
Interesting.
Yeah,
Same
that
reason
was-
why only Holdfast gets pumpkin skeletons.
So, okay, so they are definitely ascended, and we don't know how yet.
The
Correct.
as for the other figures of power, like Marwell, that was something else I believe Val expounded on, was the idea of there are other creatures who are not ascended but are on the path to ascension. That's some heavy air quotes because there's all these. Anyway.
Yeah.
But that's where vampires and liches come from, and everything in between. Sorry, she had stayed at the same game. Am I saying too much?
Yeah. But,
Okay.
But basically, when someone meets these characteristics to become an ascended, they're either thrust onto the path to become ascended, or they just become an ascended. And Nero had figured out how to become ascended, and when he came into game, he was actually ascended. So he was enhanced, in other words.
Some people might start off as like a vampire or something, and then gradually get more powerful, and then eventually just ascend.
Exactly.
But
Okay.
with Nero, it was just human ascended, just no in between.
Yeah.
Ooh, tea.
And as far as I can tell, at least from the 3 ascended that have come to town that I can observe, the abilities that they have, there are some abilities that are common with ascended, but there are also some unique abilities that they can do as well.
Okay. Oh my gosh, what is this face that you guys...
So I'm guessing that these
Okay,
unique
just-
abilities are somewhat tied to their characteristics or who they are as a person, right?
Just for everyone listening, Sharon and Rob just looked at each other, and now I'm suspicious.
So ascended are powerful humans,
Okay.
essentially.
Yep.
Very powerful humans. But
I don't know what you're about to say,
That's-
and I'm scared.
they're not just powerful humans.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good place. I don't want any spoilers
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Nero comes into town and declares himself ascended. So when he came in, I didn't know it was him at the time because Kron doesn't know Nero. As far as he was concerned, a stranger was just walking in. At the time, I think he had mind controlled Garrett and Datura.
Right, yeah.
And they were acting real suspicious because there was a couple of us at the top of
Because
the trail.
nobody knows how to act. Whenever anybody gets blindly loyal, they essentially just go, "Yes, I am yours to defile." It's like, nobody freaking acts like that. Stop.
My mind and body are yours to defile, my master.
Nobody acts naturally when they're blindly
Oh
loyal.
my gosh.
Yeah. So anyway,
Okay, can I just say poor Garrett, because just every game he comes to, he just makes himself look terrible.
Yeah, so there was a couple of us just in a circle at the head of the trail going down to the fire circle, right? And we see Garrett, Datura, Nero, and I think it was a spider, like a wolf spider, walking towards us, and we were like, "That's weird that a wolf spider be walking next to them." Hey guys, what's up? They don't say anything. They just kind of walk towards us with their head down, and we're like, "Okay, something's wrong." Datura literally just. He has his sword at the ready. Right then, I should have been suspicious, but whatever. He walked right beside us, and then, out of nowhere, just goes, whoosh, 18 metal bypass to me, and he hits me. And if it wasn't for the fact that I have 25 HP, I would have went down. So I went over and snapped his neck, and he went over.
You
And he
did
went
not
down.
have a good game with Datura.
Oh my god.
You're
No.
like, I'm sick of his shit.
So Datura and Garrett just start attacking us. I snap Datura's neck. Garrett is holding his own against someone. Then I eventually take him down with my sword. And then Nero just comes in, and he was like, "Yes, good, my minions." And I should have.
Good impression.
Yeah, thank you. So he says he's Nero. He says the reason why he's in town is because he wants. God, Pierre would be better at describing this. he wants us basically to.
He wanted subservience.
Yeah, something like that. Like
Yeah.
he didn't really want any power, or wasn't looking at anything particular. He just wanted us subservient. You're right.
Yeah, yeah.
So naturally, Holdfast was like, "Fuck you," and there was this big riot and shit. But basically, when we get Datura up, Datura tries to attack Nero. After being mind controlled, and Nero just goes, "Grapple 30, monstrous strength. I'm going to take my hand, put it into your chest, rip it up through your head, and hollow out your spine." And we were like, "Oh my god,
No.
Mike was like, "The earth will regrow your spine," so he managed to save Datura in a timely fashion.
During all of this, a player comes. I was watching Lady Val do a thing, and Pendergast comes up, going, "Lady Val, we have a bit of an issue. There's this chap Nero, blah blah blah," and Lady Val's like, "Yep, that's fine. Murder him." And Pendergast, like, "Yes, no, we've been trying that." Nasira, okay. We've been trying that. It's not working. And her, she didn't say it quite like this because Lady Val's much more eloquent, but her basic attitude was, "Well, murderize him harder."
I love her just like blasé, just like, "Oh yeah, Nero's here, just take care of it. I don't care." So like, okay, from a cast perspective, because Nero ascended, like, clearly powerful NPC, but played by a player.
Yeah.
So like, how do you guys field that? Because I feel like cast probably has really good communication going on, or better communication at least, but how do you like trust that to a player?
It takes a very special kind of player, because it's not just can we trust this person with this information? It's also, does this person want to be trusted with this information?
Right.
And that was when we were talking to Alex about it, going like, "Hey, we have this really cool idea for Nero, but if you say yes, you are absolutely saying yes. There is no backing out, and you are going to get a hell of a lot of spoilers."
Alex has sacrificed quite a bit.
Okay.
Just playing this character.
Yeah,
with the amount of knowledge that he has to have to play him.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
It's one of
so
those.
So don't pester Alex, everybody.
Because it's one of those. He just he now has some answers that he can't reveal.
Yeah.
And that's part of it, is that we were saying now you're going to know, which means Oren can't know, kind of thing, like, and that was Alex's big thing.
We trust Alex onto metagame, but it's the
It's
experience.
tricky.
It's not even that. It's
the experience, that's coming across, and like everyone's like poring over the books and like sending people off to the land of the dead and going like, okay, and they're getting the conspiracy theory tax and like, okay, so this is connected to that and that's connected to this, and he had pumpkin pie on the 12th of October instead of the 13th, and then finally everything comes together and everyone has that eureka moment and it's great. Alex has now lost that.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good he is at not metagaming. It's his immersion's on the line. Well, his immersion's now compromised.
So yeah, Nero was our big bad for the day.
Mm-hmm. And when he came in, he told us that he would return that night with what was it? Some kind of event or promise or whatever.
I can't remember his exact words, but it was beautifully and very super villainy relayed to us.
Yeah.
Alex, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Nero came into town, and you guys might have noticed that he did something weird to orchestrate the whole night's events. Like, I don't know, the circles disappeared.
Yes. I was gone for that, though.
And I think, like, 2 people actually reacted to it, to the circles
He went around
disappearing.
he went around all of Holdfast, like, made a circuit of it, going to each circle, plunging his hand into it, and then, like, doing something dastardly.
Taunting the lords, finagling, completing whatever, and then leaving, and everyone's like, yes, okay.
He went to the water circle, and he told us about this after. He's like, everybody just watched me do it. He went up to the water circle, looks over, sees a bunch of people on the deck just staring at him, looks back at the circle, plunges his hand into it, rips something out, then sits down, writes in the book, and then like stands there cackling or something, and then just looks back at the deck. Everybody's still just staring.
Everyone's just like, how quaint.
He walks over the fire circle. So, I
Good
guess.
job.
Well done, Holdfast.
People
Well
wonder
done.
why we as cast are like, please, come on, guys, come on, please. React!
Unfortunately, I was out of game at the moment. I had to leave site for a little bit. But when I came back just in the nick of time. Nero was sort of whispering in people's ears. He came to me. I honestly can't even really remember quite what he said to me. He told me he remembered the shot that I took at one of his henchmen when he first came into town. He was like, "Oh yeah, like I remember you, like fuck you," basically. And we had some words. And I watched him walk around to a bunch of other people, and I didn't hear what he said. But yeah, he was in people's heads. He wasn't like physically there. He was kind of like in people's
That's
minds.
another thing I've noticed about Ascendant as well. At least with Nero and Goto, anyway. They just seem to know everybody's names and what they're all about. And
Yeah,
shit.
like the J.O.
Weird,
Shea
man.
thing.
It's almost as if that's intentional.
Write that down, Tony. Mark the time. Write that down.
Done. It's on the board.
So then we were all compelled to go to certain circles. Tony, you and I were on the same team.
We certainly were.
Yeah, oh, it's just so good. Our team was rock solid. We were compelled to go to the Air Circle, where we met with a few other characters. Father Francis was there.
Yep.
Alexi. Arden and Jaya.
Yep.
I think Nico as well. On
Yep,
your
Nico
team.
was there.
Lord Robin was there.
Yeah, Lord Robin and
Rudy.
I think
Yeah,
you guys
we
had
go.
about nine or so on your team. Everyone else had about 10 or 11 kind of thing. It was literally, we were looking at the teams when we were making it, and we're like, do we need to rebalance? Do we really need to balance this one team? Like maybe add another one. We're like,
Alex and
No.
Sharon both worked very, very hard over the weeks leading up to game to work out that team structure.
And
It had to be a rush job because we couldn't bring Alex in the loop until September was done.
Right.
And so it was immediately crunch time.
Yep.
Though
Yeah.
the fun thing is that with the balancing of the teams, we were expecting people to come together more of like a little tiny community themselves, and so the smithies would be smithing, and the bards would be singing, and the medics would be medicing, and everything like that. So we're like, okay, every team has a smith, every team has a medic, every team has this. Okay, let's get
Erica's look of resignment.
yes.
Father Francis grabbed a staff,
Yeah,
and
the
I was
pacifist.
like, oh my gosh.
exactly.
We're going all out here.
But we were expecting, because nowhere did we say everybody must fight. It was just do what you think is necessary. So I guess everybody just assumes that fighting is necessary.
Well, I mean, Kron does.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, we were going, okay, the strong fighters and the strong mages, and then, okay, we don't know enough about the, like, brand new players' play style, so let's just make sure that we have a new player in every team kind of thing. We did our best actually to split up power couples to make
Oh,
sure.
my husband was in the Air Circle, so
Yeah.
job well done.
We just forgot about the champion necklaces.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, all of the champions were on our
yeah,
team.
we didn't even think about that till we got everything planned, like, mapped out. We're like, okay,
But it's
Nope.
too late now. So essentially, like, we were all compelled to go to the Air Circle. What
Yep.
was going on was that Nero was dividing Holdfast into teams, and each team's base was one of the elemental circles. We were air. Dagran's team was fire.
That was also
Val's team was
Kikit who
Earth.
had the golem. Like, the golem was made at this time, and Kikit was on fire team, so golem was team fire.
Yep.
Pierre was water.
Pierre was water.
Pierre was water, Marisi was on water, Verbena was on water. I would not be able to name every single team, but I
yeah.
know over at Earth, Nasir was at Earth, Zero, why is...
Torvalis,
Tor-
Lady Val.
Yep, Lady Val. The Karen is Enumaya
Enumaya.
was up
Oh,
there.
yep.
Kez was on Earth.
Oh my gosh, I have a funny Kes story.
But yeah, that was, or it was like the places that they used to be. And then it was effectively pumpkin capture the flag.
Yeah,
Yes,
each
okay, yeah.
team had a pumpkin, and the goal was for...
to go get other teams' pumpkins.
Exactly, and the team that got 4 pumpkins won the game.
Well, got a point.
Well, okay,
Got
well,
a
they
point,
got a
yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, all the rules are read to us and like we're getting ready to go, and like our team was just like stoked.
Yep.
Like we were ready for anything. Like we're just all very competitive people.
The fire circle was feeling like that too.
Yeah, fire circle. Oh my, impossible.
That was the first thing that happened.
That was Dagrin who was there, so
He was like, "Come on, guys, we're rallying up." So yeah, game is called. A bunch of us start heading down towards fire circle because we're like, that's going to be the easiest to get. Like we have the upper ground and they're right there. No, nobody could get to fire circle. It was like impossible.
Mm-hmm.
They had the golem there, to be fair, for a while.
But it was also like Alonzo, Degrin, like there were friend Theo, like there were like a lot of power players on that team as well. I mean, on every team, but like y'all were just very tough to get to.
Mm-hmm.
During that time, we're trying to get down there. The very first time we're trying to get down there, we make a little bit of headway. We get down that trail pretty well, and then I'm downed. So I'm like waiting my 10 minutes until I can go back and respawn. And Nero comes up to me, and again, he's like, I guess he's like in like whatever consciousness. I don't know how.
At that point, he was actually just.
Oh, he was just there?
Yeah, he was just there.
Oh, okay. So he was physically. Oh wait, yeah, he was physically there.
Okay, so he's physically there.
He was overseeing the game.
Right. Okay. So he comes up to me, and Alex, who plays Nero, is my in-game husband, Oren. So he's like saying things to me, and then all of a sudden he goes, "Killing blow 1," and I start freaking out a little bit. I'm like, is he actually killing blowing me? Because like on an Oog level, he would know that like I'm at my last death. Like once Asher's dead on this third death, like it's over.
Yep.
So he goes, "Killing blow 1." I'm like, what? Killing blow 2. My eyes start to water. I'm like, what are you doing? Killing blow 3. In my head, I'm like, this has been a plan all along. And like, he's just trying to get away from me. He doesn't want to do the Asher Oren storyline. Like, I thought I was being broken up with. So then I look at him.
I'm like, getting you a pint of chocolate ice cream.
Thank you. So I look at him. I'm like, why are you doing this to me? And he goes, ooh, like, you just respawn. And I was like, yeah, of course. yeah.
I knew that all along.
I'm good. Okay, I'm gonna go back. I'm fine.
Oh my god.
So that's how I start a game, with just a little bit of crying. And then there was a lot that happened.
Okay.
But do we want to get into our stealth mission?
Okay, well, first I want to say this. Right at the beginning, I think this was right after you respawn, you were like, okay, so we need to do something about that Archer, and we need to do something about Dagrin.
We always need to do something about Dagrin. That's nothing new.
So Asher turns to Krond, and she's like, okay, Krond, you're going to spearhead this attack.
Oh, brother. I saw it all happen.
I don't even remember this, so like this will just tell you the mind state that I was in. Continue.
So you're like, okay, Krond, you're going to spearhead this attack. Because you're the tankiest and you have the big sword, so it's basically like the plan was you go down, take out Alonzo as fast as you can, and we're gonna be right behind you for backup and provide you with whatever support you need. And I was like, okay, that doesn't sound so bad. I'm not gonna, I can't take on everyone by myself. So what I do is I'm ready to go, and there's people behind me, and I just charge. I'm like, and I go down to fire circle, and I make a beeline right for Alonzo, and I take him out, and then I turn around, and not a single fucking soul followed me. So I was like, guys, where'd you go? And then they promptly destroyed me.
Tony, I'm not fast. I'm sorry I did that to you. There was also a moment where okay, basically, so we had 3 champions on our team, 2 of which pulled their champion necklaces.
Yeah, I didn't expect that at all.
Yeah, we didn't actually take that into account when we were planning the teams. But
sorry.
The fun thing, and this is the fun thing to think about, is that they're big bad necklaces. They're once in a lifetime necklaces to have blown.
Which, yeah, like that's what I was saying, because when they were talking about blowing their necklaces, I was like, well, like, give it a minute. like, see how things go. But it was almost instantly like, oh, we're started pop, and I was like, oh, okay.
Jay almost took out the golem by herself.
Yeah, most of the damage that was dealt to the golem was dealt by Jaya.
This is like after like 1 or 2 respawns, and I'm seeing what Jaya is doing. So when you have your necklace blown, you can point cast, and Jaya also has Tears of Essence and Void. So basically, they can like multiply their point casting to like 20 magic damage. So Jaya was point casting for 20 damage, and just walking around the field, like, for example, like, with fire, I strike Sharon 20 points. With fire, I strike Sharon 20 points. Just wrecking house.
Yep.
Like, so I was like, I'm going to stick with Jaya. That's what I'm going to do this whole time. So I'm just, like, flanking Jaya. A few things happen, but there's one point, this is my little Kez story. There's one point where Jaya, we're like kind of advancing on the Earth Circle. I'm just following her. I don't have an arrow left in my quiver. I don't have a sword. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm kind of useless right now, so I'm just going to stay in the shadows. I see Kez trying to get Dimitri up, who Jaya has just killed. And, no. Dimitri and Jaya had killed each other, so I'm just like standing there like, oh no. And I see Kez, and I'm like, roll for intimidate. Just like, Kez, back up, and he goes, oh, okay. And he does it, and I was like, oh, cool. So I have a poultice, and I just poultice Jan. I'm like, let's get out of here. Like, Kez could have killed me in that moment. Yeah, like, just flat out.
When we changed it to, because there got to be a point that we realized everybody was just hiding their pumpkins. We couldn't make the call that what people would do. We weren't sure what was, so we just were like, okay, we'll see what happens. Oh, everyone's hiding their pumpkins. Cool.
They were supposed to glow in the dark.
Yeah, we tried stuff. It didn't work. In any case, so we changed it to a person. They all have to wear this bright glowing bracelet to make sure people can see and all of that. And I remember we had chosen the people that we were fairly certain were just, people might be like, oh, we think you're dead weight, even if they weren't. Oh. But then also people that we knew could run.
Okay.
Because if somebody went, yoink, you're coming with me now, that they could keep up. So you're not getting people that generally aren't super combat-y, and so they don't really like running, and they could just they could be running, and people aren't going to be like, you're taking our best medic kind of thing.
Right.
So we went up to Kez, because Kez is brand new, and we were like, okay, we're pretty sure I've seen him, he can run, this is fine. And I remember giving it to him, like, yeah, you're the target now. He's like, swell. This is for me.
So, oh man, I work with him at a game, and he's just such a good kid. And yeah, I can see him being like, oh great, I'm the pumpkin, I'm gonna do my best. It's like,
he's so much fun.
Oh, he's great.
Like his character.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Then we discovered that people were hiding the people. And
I know, I heard from Aaron that water team, when they got their pumpkin, Verbena just took it and lit in the tall, like just laid down in the tall grass.
Yeah, she got a cloak for like a different color cloak from somebody else. She curled up around the pumpkin, put the cloak over top, and just laid there, to the point that the player was going, I need to get up. I think I need to get up soon. Can I get up? Arms are asleep, legs are asleep. I'm stuck here. Come
I'm obsessed. I was like, that's brilliant.
And people were actually like walking past. Like the player counted like 4 or 5 times where somebody almost walked on their head.
Oh my gosh.
You know, there was at one point. Now it might have been me, because I was the one overseeing the water circle, and I had a drink. But she remembers this one point where somebody was just standing there with like her 2 feet away, hiding, just. Drink. Well, nothing's weird around here.
Better get back to it. And then the last thing I remember, well, there's 2 things I remember from Pumpkin Brawl, but most importantly, myself and Tony and Jaya went on a stealth mission.
Yep.
It was so fun.
That was a really good 20 minutes of just sneaking right through the woods.
Champion, the barbarian, and the archer go on a stealth mission.
Yeah.
How does this joke end?
Asher fits that bill.
Yeah.
She's
the other 2.
The ranger.
So yeah, we
Our plan was to go from the air circle to
we wanted to go up through the woods to the Earth Circle, because we were like, Earth Circle's looking a little weak. They're kind of like, if we just sweep through the woods, we might either we're going to find their person eventually. So let's just do that. So we started going through the woods to, eventually make it to Earth Circle. We never actually ended up making it, because that portion of the game had ended. But there was one point, and we're so quiet, so we can hear like everything. And we can hear someone coming up behind us, but we also hear someone ahead of us. And it's pitch black, and we're like, fuck, like we don't really know what to do here. So the person that's ahead of us is like right in front of us at this point. So we all crouch down. We're not sure what to do. And I just like fire an arrow. Like I see them for a split flash of a second. I fire an arrow at them. It hits a shield, and they ran like a bat out of hell. Like,
yep.
Yeah, like through the woods, like out the fairy circle exit. Like they were just gone. And I was like, who can move that fast?
I've never seen someone run and scuttle at the same time.
Oh, it was crazy. It was Dimitri. I don't know what he was doing up in the woods.
That was a really fun beginning when everything started with pumpkin squash, which was the name of the game.
Okay.
I watched Dimitri come up with his shield, so Dimitri and friend Theo both have that Russian accent.
Yeah.
Theo does not have a shield. Dimitri has a shield, and he comes up, shield proudly in front of him, going, "Oh, hello, friends. It is I, friend Theo." And they're like, "Dimitri?
Liar.
No, friend Theo. We know it's you, Dimitri." Okay. But I'm watching him come up going, "Oh, it's Dimitri. I can see the shield."
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I gave Dimitri my fighting spirit for that, because I was like, he was so quiet and it just like hit his shield and just gone. Like a bat out of hell. It was crazy. It was a really good moment.
That's awesome.
And then, unfortunately, the armband portion of that game ended, and then it ended up being like.
It ended up because we realized that people were just hiding the people as well, and we're like, "Crap, we want somebody to at least get a point from
The
this."
stipulation,
So-
I guess, should have been made to not hide, but
And
Yeah.
we
Hindsight's
live and learn.
2020.
Yeah, it's a live and learn thing, and so at that point, because before Alex and I were like, "Okay, this is happening. Okay, we'll change it to the armband. Okay, we did some really quick thinging," and then it was like, "Nope." I'm like, "Alex, go hide in a spot people can find you." And he's like, "Okay." So he goes off and hides. I grab a pumpkin, and I just am like, "The first person to get the pumpkin to Nero gets a point." And suddenly I was just gangbanged. And the fun thing is that either it was right before I did that, or right after, and I was like, "Okay, I want to go see where Alex is hiding, just so I can direct him in case he's like hiding under a bush with a cloak over his face," kind of thing. No, what he had actually done was he was sitting in the Citadel, door wide open, lights on, bright behind him, like arms stretched out, sitting there, like face on through the open door, like a villain. With a cat. If he had a cat, he needed a cat. That was all he needed to complete the picture. And I was just like, "You cocky son of a bitch." I still had to give players the hint that that's where he was, because nobody could find him in the bright open door.
sorry.
How was goleming Saturday night? Like, how was being a part of Fire Team as the golem?
It was it was fun.
Yeah?
It was fun. I was very excited about that whole mod.
Kiki was just walking around, not a care in the world, because she had her golem, and like everybody was fighting for their lives, and Kiki was just like, "I'm just gonna go for a walk."
I wish that I had been passed around a bit more, because
Okay.
the idea was that the torch could just change hands. Continue.
We thought it had to be given willingly.
I don't know why.
I don't know where the shit comes
we don't
from.
know how the mistranslation happened. It happened, but
Anyway, that's fine. The point is, I did change teams a few times, so that was kind of cool. That because I started in Kika's hands, and we go on the field. Eventually, Kika goes down because the golem had to receive direct commands.
Right.
So you couldn't just give a general protect us and fight our enemies, and then that's what it does reliably.
Yeah.
It would have to be individual. Attack that person. Good, that person's down. And as soon as that person's down, it stops.
Yeah.
And it doesn't do anything until you give it another command.
Yeah.
So it would be protect me, or attack that person, flank me. And so at one point, Kika goes down because she's commanding me to do something, and then she gets attacked, and she just starts screaming, "Ah!" and goes down. And I'm just standing there, watching my master fall to the ground. And then I think it was Pierre or somebody from one of the other teams gets the torch, and then they're like, "Oh."
I've got it.
And then start, pointing the golem at stuff. That was cool. And I ended up back. I remember one instance where we ended up back near the fire circle again. And there's this huge scuffle, and I'm being like pointed at people. I think that's where why is it hitting for 32 now? Yeah. So somebody's, I forget who was
Rob,
coming
your
in at that
impressions
time.
are spot on.
But they were like, attack those guys, take them or kill them. Like when people would say really harsh terms, then the golem would go into overdrive. So it's just with fire engulf my vines, and hitting for 32 magic, 32 magic, 32 magic. And people were like, what the fuck? And then there's a scuffle that happens right near the fire circle. There's like a pile of 7 people or something. I lost track of what was happening. The torchbearer just told me to swing, and so I was just swinging away. I couldn't hear anything inside that mask when I'm talking. So if I'm shouting 27 mauling, 27 mauling, all I hear is my own voice.
Yeah.
So I have to stop to listen to my commander. And eventually, like, enough of it settles down, and the torch is just flown somewhere. And then I look, and I'm about to swing at Dagrin, And then he's like, and he's holding the torch in his hand. He's like, looks at the torch, looks at me, and then he gets his smile. He's like, nah,
Yes.
kill them.
There was one point. It was when you started just walking to random points and saying, "I have a pumpkin." Like whoever gets it first. So I was like hiding along the tree line, like right next to where you called it out. So I was the first one to the pumpkin.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got this fucking pumpkin. Like, this is it. Like, the competitive in me was just in overdrive. Like, I'm ready. I'm going to get a point. By this point, a couple people had already gotten points and figured out where Nero was. So I'm, like, gunning it with this pumpkin. A few people hit me with a few things, but, like, there's no slowing me down. Like, I'm just, like tunnel vision. So I get to the Citadel and I run in with the pumpkin. Nero's not where I expect him to be. And I just stop for a second and I look around and just everybody is touching some sort of weapon or something to me. And I just look around and they're like, yeah, like you're definitely dead. And I'm like, I was for sure hit with like 100 damage. And I'm just walking through the Citadel doors. Everyone was just on me. And I was like, okay. But I'm proud I at least got it to the Citadel. I'm so proud.
I remember with the pumpkins because I'm holding it high above my head. I'm about average height.
Yep.
And people are coming up to me like, yes, and they're holding out their hands like, give it to me now.
No.
And I'm just standing there looking at them going, get the pumpkin.
I ran up and I was like, because I had seen people swarm you before, so I was able to reach the pumpkin, but I was like, I don't want to hurt you, just please give me this fight.
Kron managed to get the pumpkin away from me just by tipping it out like a basketball.
Okay, yeah. That's the strategy right there.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, when I got that particular pumpkin, I was running as fast as I can towards the Citadel. And I'm pretty fast, but only for like 10 seconds. So I'm running as fast as I can, and sure enough, who was behind me? Pierre. His lanky legs were carrying him he's really fast.
And he can run for a very long time. We used to run together, and I was like, I can't anymore.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, he
Not
plays
only could he...
ball hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah, like his endurance is
game
really
level.
good.
His cardio is unimaginable.
Yeah, and not only was he fast, he had that long fucking wooden stick too, so he was just hitting me for wood damage, and I was like, there's no way I'm gonna get to the Citadel before he downs me. So I turn around, grapple 12, and snap his neck, and then I start running again. And then Garrett comes up right next to me, and he starts hitting me with his sword. I'm like, grapple 12, I break your neck, and then I run right into the Citadel, hand Nero the pumpkin. I'm like, I need to sit down right now.
I know, after I got that pumpkin to the Citadel, I was like, I gotta take myself out of game. I have exhausted myself. It was...
Well, we ended up getting 2
With
points.
2 points, yeah.
So I think we were tied for first there.
Water and air are tied. We're still trying to figure that out.
Yeah. I mean, like, listen, I had a good time.
Yeah,
That's
that was
all
a really
matters.
good time.
Yeah.
I really did enjoy the sneaking around. It was toit.
Oh, that was so fun. I know, because when else do we ever get to be roguey?
No, we
Never.
don't.
Yeah, especially Krond. Not with that sword.
No.
Not in this economy.
Exactly.
So how did you guys, like, you both had fun with Pumpkin Brawl?
I mean, as much as we could, we were casting.
Yeah.
Well, Rob got to have more fun than me because he was actually Gollum.
I felt really bad because I knew that I could feel it. I knew a logistical nightmare was going on, and I was like, I can't leave my post.
Yeah.
As it were.
But, I mean-
It was a Gollum. We in cast meetings before then we had already said I'm gonna be doing this. Like that was most of my Saturday was just dedicated to a Gollum.
Yeah.
Which was really fun. I hadn't really done something like that before, but yeah, I was a Golem from 6 to midnight.
Wow.
Essentially.
Whoa.
Okay.
I went to
I
the
think he took a piss once.
once when I knew that the zombies were about to happen. I was like,
Yeah,
I
the
better
pumpkin
do
game,
this now.
Yeah.
The pumpkin game wasn't even the last thing that happened that night. That
Yeah,
was-
you guys, I had to take myself out of game. I was dealing with like a thing, so exhausting myself was not what I should have done. So I missed the second half of the night. So Tony, you're going to have to tell us all about it. And of course, Sharon and Rob, you guys are going to have to give us the insight here.
Well, I'll do my best. So after we had played the pumpkin squash game, Nero came up to every single team and he asked, okay, who do you think the MVP of your team was? Our team chose Arden, Fire team chose Dagrin, Water team chose Verbena, and Earth team chose who?
Willow, it ended up being.
Willow?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, that was all well and good. Nero leaves and we're expelled of the compulsion, right? So we're back to normal.
Oh, that's actually a fun thing. So I was watching the Air Circle as the Air Circle was the last team for Nero to visit, to be like, oh yes, who's your MVP? Okay, excellent. Gets this decision and then says like, yes, you're all free from the compulsion. And I think it was one of the new players just immediately, fuck you, Nero. He's like, yes, good 4 for 4.
Yeah, I was like, yes, that's 4 for 4 now.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that was good. So we were, we're not under his compulsion anymore, but we still can't do anything because he's ascended and whatnot, so he just fucks off, and we go about our evening thinking that everything is done. And then sure enough, the MVPs that everyone had listed off started getting sick. Like stupid, something, like in an IG sense, not out of game sense, but like the MVPs were cripplingly sick. They couldn't do anything, and they were acting as if they were on their last legs. And I think over the course of like a half hour to maybe an hour or something, they just started dropping like flies, one by one.
They all dropped at the same time-ish, like within the same couple of minutes.
Okay.
I remember I was in cast cabin at this point because there's nothing for me to do. It's all waiting for the players to just player be player.
Yep.
And I'm hearing, because Daegrin was one of the MVPs, and I'm hearing Daegrin breathing his last, and I got this sense of like the last breath has been expelled.
Like,
yeah, and Michael Greyflow was there, like kind of nursing Daegrin through his last, and this is a kudos to this player because Michael tends to just sort of stay in the background. You don't get to see a lot of, as AD of just running around everywhere. I don't get to see a lot of RP from the player, and so in cast I was hearing this sense of desperation come from it that I was just not expecting, of just like, Daegrin, come on, Daegrin, stay with me, call me an idiot, say something, call me an idiot, here, hurt me. It was just this like, you're not dead, don't die, you can't say you're dead yet. And it was just like, I was wanting to cry.
I'm so proud of him this season.
Like, it was just, and then I heard somebody else cry, but I actually couldn't ping whether or not it was that player, if it was somebody else, because I was in cast cabin, so I couldn't see anything. But yeah, it was just this like, I'm not crying, you're crying, it's fine.
Yeah, the RP has been on a whole other level.
Yeah, the RP was good this game.
Yeah.
So when the MVPs went down, I didn't actually know they went down because I had gone outside at this point. But essentially what had happened is once the MVPs went down, they had risen again as like zombie overlords. Not only were they zombie overlords, but they miraculously just could cast void spells now, like void kills and void shadows.
They got beefed up.
Yeah, they got a power boost for this game.
I like that because it's not dissimilar. Like, I mean, like zombies and liches, like they're both kind of like undead things, and that's kind of what we had from Nero last time, was sort of undead.
Well, no, it wasn't Nero, it was the Lich. The Lich was the undead overlord
Nero
at that point.
Nero was just a part of that.
Yeah,
okay.
Nero wasn't the Lich.
But he was like risen to be undead, wasn't he?
That's kind of where I think he's getting some of this undead knowledge from.
Okay, yes, yeah, that's more so what I meant. Like there was undead things happening when Nero was around.
The theming.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. There we go. Thank you, Rob. Yeah.
Yeah.
The theming was similar.
So when the MVPs rose, it turned into your cliche zombie apocalypse.
Oh, yeah.
Your zombies rose, they bit one person, they started chewing on them, that person turned into a zombie until they just started raffle ponying us.
Here's the fun thing is that they actually had a 30-second kill count. They had to eat the person for 30 seconds, and they still just started to roll. But the fun thing, when we were like, okay, this is, I guess, where players be players, was everyone dies, like the MVPs die, they rise again, and then they start eating people, and somebody comes out going to the people on the porch going, I don't mean to alarm you, but David has died, has risen, and is starting to eat people. Just so you're aware. And people's response was, oh, okay.
And then just went back to what they were doing. Oh my god.
Again,
react!
That being said, they did survive.
There were survivors. There's a difference.
That's a generous thing to say, I
guess. Okay,
so how many like full on died this game?
Oh man,
okay, so the actual death that needs to come to a land of the dead would be 1.
Okay.
In the sense of the zombies, because a bunch of people ended up cluing themselves out before the zombies actually happened, like going oog and stuff. So we actually had 49 people at game, cast included.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
We had 49 in September, and I was really hoping for October to just punch us through that 50.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
We'll get there.
Yep.
Jake hadn't been sick.
So many people were promising me new players, and they didn't.
Jake's listening to this like, oh man.
Sorry, Jake, it's your fault.
Actually, there's some people that are like, yeah, I'm going to be bringing 5 million friends with me. I'm like, cool. Where are your friends? They're out here. What?
You lied.
Now I forget where I was going with that.
About 25 people died, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had 9 survivors at the end, all huddling in the Citadel.
Yeah, okay, so once people started rolling over players and everyone was just dying, there was only a handful of us left. But the reason why I wasn't there for that first initial outbreak was because I actually went to go use the bathroom. So out of game,
so you come back and you're like, what the fuck?
Essentially, I was the guy in that cliche zombie movie that wakes up in the hospital and walks out like 28 weeks later and like, what the fuck is going on? So I walk out, and then Pierre comes out of the inn, runs around behind the inn, and I follow him. I'm like, Pierre, what's going on? And he's all shaken up like, Krond, are you okay? I'm like, what's going on? Everybody's zombies. I'm like, sorry, can you say that again?
I leave for 5 minutes.
I know, like, I'm gone for like 5 minutes. I'm on the can, and all fucking hell breaks loose. At which point, 3 zombies come up to us and start flanking us, and I don't have my sword at this point because I just went to the can. And we didn't know what to do. So what I tried to do was try and grapple someone. I think it was Keegan. Yeah, it was definitely Keegan. So I tried grappling Keegan from my normal grapple of 5, and she was just like, grapple 9. I'm like, oh. So she throws me into Pierre, and then they just start mauling us. We managed to get them down successfully. At which point, Taka actually joins us. So it's just 3 of us, myself, Pierre, and Taka, were like the only survivors that I knew of at the time. And we were like, guys, what are we going to do? So
what a squad.
I know, right? So we decide to make our way to the Citadel, but we try and do it as like creepily as possible. We're walking in the middle of the field, and there are just bodies down. There's people eating people, and we're like, this is actually a zombie apocalypse. But what I liked was that some of the zombies actually retained some of their character characteristics, because we were walking up towards the Citadel, and zombie Marisi was just kind of like huddled in the dark, coming up with like an assassin stance, and he was like, I'm like, oh my god, it's terrifying.
Say what you want about Marisi. The man knows how to stay in character.
Exactly. He knows how to sneak even when he's a zombie. So we're making our way up to up the field toward the Citadel, and who was it? Robin started lumbering towards us, and the way he's walking, we just think he's a zombie. So we were like, state your business. And he's like waddling up towards us, and we're like, okay, you're gonna die now. And then when we just start to descend upon him with our weapons, he's like, no, I'm okay. We're like, why didn't you say something? Because I was trying to blend in.
No, listen, I was just about to mention, Aaron told me that Lexicus did the same thing.
Oh,
the
really?
way a lot of people were surviving was by just pretending to be a zombie because they couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, strategy. We love a strategic moment.
So at that point, there were 4 survivors. Then we made our way into the Citadel, and we just kind of held ourselves up in there because they couldn't get in. And luckily, Zombie Overlord Dagrin gave his only Citadel key that he had to Pierre, so he couldn't get in. But he was just sort of standing outside talking to Pierre.
That was so very lucky.
Yeah, we were real lucky there. We had a backup plan. Taka was just kind of imparting dematerialized states on us so that if they did break in, we could just go oop and walk out safely. Yeah. So we did have a backup plan, but luckily we didn't have to resort to that. But yeah, that night was just hectic. There were like 40 zombies just like clawing at the Citadel, like, we're like, oh my god, this is amazing. It's like Left 4 Dead.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sad I missed it. There was one point when Oren was going to the air circle to basically take himself out of game. Mm-hmm. We had this really sweet moment, like, oh, like, I don't like that you're leaving, and like, you know, things seem like they're getting tense around here, but like, you know, I love you, be safe, and you know, be safe or whatever. And then Alex goes out of game, and he goes, like, are you going to be here all weekend? And I was like, yeah, like, I might play on and off, like, I'm not really feeling the best. I think you should be here all weekend. What? And, like, at this point, he didn't tell me he was going to be in the air circle. I thought this was just, like, an overnight thing, and I was like, what is going on here? It's like, yeah, so I'm sad I missed it, but it sounds like
It was a
amazing.
pretty good time. I'm sad you missed it too.
How was Zombie Mod for cast?
Well, pretty smooth sailing. We just sort of
So like,
They didn't really
were
have to
you-
do anything.
yeah.
Yeah, like were you zombieing? Like
No.
I went into panic
He
mode.
he was Gollum.
My job during the zombie, and I knew this beforehand. I started actually freaking out. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah. So here's the fun thing is that that zombie mod that you guys played was actually heavily inspired on a zombie mod I went through as a player in Harrowing.
okay.
And I, very similar to Kron, just sort of woke up going like, what the fuck is going on? But unlike Kron, I had woken up dead, so I was out of mana. And shenanigans happened, and like where the survivors were like, okay, we're in the Citadel, and like people are pretending, and like I had all of those same similar instances and all of that where I was like,
love that.
you know, zombies coming up, and they're like, so what's happening? Stuff, and they're like, good. And then going, okay, if I can get here, then I'm safe, and getting there and being safe. The big difference is that we actually had a solution for all of y'all's to do, which people did stumble across, a little forced, but did stumble across, and it was presented. Caragwen didn't have, the 80s at the time hadn't presented a solution. They just decided, everyone's cured now. Oh, why? Because. Cool.
Actually, it was the players that found the solution to our zombie mod got my player award because we
Yeah.
were just all held up in the Citadel. We didn't know what the hell we were going to do, and then
So
all
what
of a
was the
sudden
solution?
we heard Mar and Lexicus outside.
Pumpkin pie, which I forgot to. I actually went out and bought pumpkin pie for a game, 2 pies, so that way people
forgot
could
the pies,
actually
yeah.
eat the pie. And then it was like Saturday afternoon, and I was like, I forgot the pies.
So it was just a bowl of marshmallows.
But I mean, it did some kind of because somebody had brought marshmallows for the goblin mod, and they actually hadn't been opened. So I was like, okay, these are still people really still don't know what they are just yet. So they're now the pies. You get 8 slices for 16.
it was something to eat that served
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
So we wanted that visible, visceral. Once it's gone, it's gone. There's no like I've eaten a dose.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so essentially what had happened was the solution was by eating this pumpkin pie, you're actually ingesting an alchemical effect, so that when you eat it, the alchemical effect would be a part of your blood. So all you had to do was either give yourself a little cut or draw some blood or something, and then make contact with the zombie, and then say, what was it?
Contact gel, permanent rest.
Yeah, contact gel, permanent rest, and then the zombie would just...
Oh, I think Nasir covered himself in it.
Oh really?
Oh my
and,
God.
and ran into a pile of them, didn't he?
I don't know.
I heard that
It
story.
was that the zombies actually had to start eating you, right?
Okay.
It wasn't just that you were slathered in it. It was that it was, you know, part of you. So when they started eating your flesh.
Okay, maybe that's what happened.
Which is why people were like, you know, going and like bite, and they were like, okay, I'm a solution, but I'm a dying solution now. Somebody please heal me. Which it was.
That,
I never got the actual. I didn't get to see it, but I got to hear all the fun thing of Lexicus. Bless Lexicus. He's been to 3 games.
Our speedrunner.
He's died in 2. And he didn't die in this one. Like, he didn't even turn into a zombie. And people come into the inn, like the survivors come into the inn, and they're just like, Lexicus, you're alive? And he was like, yeah, why wouldn't I be?
Anything.
Given your track record.
Which that wasn't the only mild upset we had, like fun upset we had, because in cast planning we were like, oh yeah, okay, so when Pierre becomes a zombie, because MVP, and we're like, well, maybe not. There's other strong players on his team. We don't know how the game's gonna go, so who knows? Pierre's probably no guarantee Pierre's gonna be a zombie. Yeah, that's fair. Anyway, so when Pierre's a zombie, Pierre never became a zombie.
He
not
was
even
one
a
of
beta one.
Yeah, he was one of the survivors. At the end of the night,
Damn.
there was 9 of us.
Yeah.
9 of us left out of what, 40?
That's so fun. So you went into panic mode, Rob. That's what you were saying. You
No, my job was basically, and the goblins did talk about this. They did talk about this. I understand not everybody likes to listen to goblins. It's understandable. But basically, the golem had a fail-safe mode in the event of an undead apocalypse.
It's a very handy failsafe mode, I gotta tell you.
Where it overrides any other directives and immediately tries to make its head into a pie.
Oh,
So
good.
it couldn't go on the deck because it was part of the earth. Like its roots were in the earth. But so it has scuffle with Dagrin, took down Dagrin, then Dagrin rose again. Dagrin took it down, and at that point, as I was regenerating, because golems regenerate, I have to wait 5 minutes, and I'm hearing everything around me going to hell. I'm like, I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. And so I'm freaking out internally because I don't know what will happen. I hadn't gotten that far. Finally I regen. I'm like, okay, go. And I just go over to the in steps, and exceptional strength, I rip my leg out of the ground. I rip my other leg out of the ground. That's why it was just crawling on the deck. So I just started crawling towards the indoor as the golem, and then get inside and start banging my head against the oven.
Just like, put me in your oven, please.
Eventually, my head did get into the oven. And that's where the pie came from.
Zombies.
By one of the alpha zombies. I didn't even realize at the time. I was just, somebody do this, hurry, they're gonna die.
And they were like, oh, okay, exceptional strength. I pull up your head, and Rob's like, oh.
And that was that.
But
That was the end of that night.
Yeah, it worked.
Crazy.
Oh.
Such a good way to end.
Yep. And that wasn't
end
even
the
the end. A whole fucking thing on Sunday happened too.
What did I do Sunday? I did coffee deliveries again.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I was mostly Oog Sunday. So you tell me all about it.
So 2 major things happened. One, of course, Nero came back. So the 9 survivors knew that Nero was going to come back and were waiting in the field for him. And then very theatrically, Alex describes how Nero comes in a pool of darkness and then just pops out of the pool of darkness.
Of course he does.
He had a lot of fun.
Yeah, he did. He was excited.
So anyway, Nero appears, and Pierre is pissed off. The first thing Pierre does is actually attack Nero. And I think he had backup by one other player, but Nero very
I think it was
easily.
Pierre and Mar.
Yeah, I think Nero very easily he had his 2 daggers and just was hitting for 18 bypass and took Pierre down real quick.
Oh my God.
What I ended up doing was actually giving Pierre a poultice for him to get back up so he could be part of the conversation that was about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Nero, he first off, he congratulated us for our survival and our game last night. But then he said, "You are the only ones left, and I can bring them back to you."
This is such a good impression. Like, you actually sound like Alex.
And I can bring them back to you if you only kneel before me. And we were like, all of us were like, fuck, that's not happening.
Alex was talking to me about this later because, like I said, I was out of game, so Alex came over to my tent and we just like had a little chat. And he was like, I didn't even ask them for like subservience or anything. They just had to kneel. It wouldn't have meant anything.
Yeah.
I think he even said that. Like, there's no strings attached, just
I can
knee to
understand
ground.
the indignity of it.
Yeah, totally,
But
absolutely.
it was what was the exact stipulation, I think, was I'll bring your friends back, but if you don't kneel before me, there will be damage to their souls.
Yeah, or there will be damage to the souls or dire consequences or something. Yeah. And no one was kneeling, so what Kron did was he just stepped forward and went down on both knees and he started to kneel. And then right immediately Pierre was like, "Kron, no, don't do it! What are you doing?" But Kron was like, "Listen, Pierre, we're the only ones left. If we can just set aside our little pride for a second and get these back, then I'm willing to do it." And that's all Kron was thinking. So Kron knelt.
And what did that mean for Kron?
It was very humiliating, but Kron understood that it had to be done because there's nothing we could do against Nero at this point.
You took one for the team.
Yeah, I tried anyway. Because there's, as far as we know now, there's nothing that we can do against an Ascended with the knowledge that we have.
Okay.
So the humble thing to do would just be to take a knee and just get our friends back. But everyone was like, "No, Kron, don't do it. Get up. We have a plan." And then Nero was very convincingly going, "Kron, I can help you with your revenge against Godo. Just merely give me a name and I will show you the power that I have, and I'll bring a friend back." He was very tempting with his offer. He was like, "I don't even have, just name one person. I'll bring them back right now." And I was this close to just uttering a name before Pierre was like, "Kron, I have a plan." So eventually Kron was like, "Okay, you know what? Fine. I'm going to trust you, Pierre, because you're a friend, and I will I'll follow you. I'll follow you through with your plan. So Kron ends up standing up, and he says, "Sorry, Nero, but I'm gonna trust Pierre on this one." He's like, "Well, that is rather disappointing, but I I appreciate the gesture." And then he fucks off.
I love him so much.
And then everybody comes back with damage to their soul, and knowing that the only person who tried to save them of the survivors was Kron.
Oh.
We didn't figure that out until after, but they kept coming back, and they were like, "What happened?" All I know is I think I'm supposed to thank Kron. Everyone was just saying that, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on? We didn't actually piece that together until like 10 minutes later.
Yeah. Okay. Damn, anything else happened Saturday?
The Elder Wild.
Or Sunday?
Yes.
The Elder Wild came back.
Shaman.
Oh,
The
yes,
Elder
okay.
Wild
that,
Shaman.
oh, that costume was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was real fun, trying to walk through the woods with a big old tree on my head.
It was almost like a very tall crown of like branches.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw that actually at Sci-Fi. There was a vendor that had those kinds of crowns and like naturalistic
Amazing.
sort of bits and bobs. It's a shame I forget their actual table name because I would have loved to give them a plug right here, right now.
Yeah.
And I fell in love, and I was like, how much is it? That's affordable. Here. Probably wasn't, but whatever. And
Yeah.
and so then I'm like, I have it, and I'm all proud. And then Rob and I are like, I'm like, what am I gonna do with it now? I need a reason to wear it in game. We need to figure out something. Okay, Shaman, go. And so we finally got to bring it in because we didn't get to bring it in September.
The players needed some info.
Yeah.
And this was a good way to do it.
Yeah, so I came in as the Elder Wild Shaman on Sunday after Nero had left.
So give us a little bit of a breakdown. What is the Elder Wild, and what was her message?
Good question.
Well, she actually wasn't the Elder Wild. She was an Elder Wild Shaman.
Okay.
And it was more or less, her message was trying to figure out what was going on with Holdfast. Because she could feel, effectively a disturbance in the Force.
Okay.
She knew something was going on. She could tell Ascendant were coming by this way for reasons. Holdfast is a very special place anyways. She could sense that, destruction and repair have been happening over and over, and was just like, okay, I need to go check this out because y'all fucking with my forest right now.
Yeah, there are people of the forest, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so she represents the Elder Wild, which is still something that people are still figuring out in game, so I'm not going to go too much into what the Elder Wild is / are. But yeah, she came in to just be like, how can I help? Oh, you're talking about cities. Okay. You want to stop so I can help? But then we went all around, point to point to point to, and the fun thing of all of this is because she's a very, think of a druid.
Right.
D&D style. That's more or less the kind of characteristic she had. So she was wearing a pale green dress, no shoes, no shawl. It was a sundress, what I was wearing, and it wasn't sunny. So
Oh no, and it was very damp that weekend
it was
too.
very damp. The mud was cold and thick. There was nothing warming up. So I'm walking through. Slowly, my body temperature is just draining and draining and draining. And everyone's like, do you want a shawl? I was like, no, that's fine. Hibernation's soon anyways. Cold is part of the discomfort. Everything's fine. They're like, okay, because I think your lips are turning purple. And then finally, everything...
Sharon's really good at
everything
keeping
clues up,
faithful.
and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, game's called. All right, game's called. Fucking somebody hand me a fucking shit, damn it. Because I was just, I don't have to pretend to not be cold anymore.
So she didn't really answer your question, but no, I guess you did.
There's only so much I can
Yeah,
answer.
I mean,
we
most of
can't
it.
really
What
tell.
was the information that was, what was her point that she was?
Well, she was talking about essentially the Ascendant and what they kind of meant to the Elder Wild and what they kind of meant to everyone else sort of as a whole. And she was trying to explain and go over that. People asking questions, and she was there just to kind of answer the questions people had, to being a bit of a walking library for people. That so long as you asked, she would answer, but she wouldn't necessarily be coming up going, oh, did you know this? Did you know that? Now you know. And there was a huge lore dump that happened at the top of Fairchild Grove at the Manor Route, which very fun thing that we had sort of planted on a little while ago has come to light, and I'm really excited to see how people take with that.
Ooh.
Somebody made, I forget exactly the question, but I responded with, no one's born like that. Well, there's been rumors of an old child being crafted, but who's to say that
what?
that's real? Their rumors are rumors. I've never met this person. Rumors say it's
But who?
Rumors say it's this human girl who's traveled far and wide. Oh, do you know her name? It's a rumor. No, I don't.
Tony, do you know?
What, who the person is?
Yeah.
No.
People,
I didn't even remember the question. I think the question had something to do with exalted, didn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah.
That's the term. Sorry, that's the term that I believe the players have given to the concept that they have of somebody possibly being sort of the antithesis of an ascended being, and they've called that an exalted. There's nothing really to ground that theory yet, but it's just sort of.
It's a theory that they have.
Yeah, and so they've just have that.
Think like an ascended is a Sith and an exalted is a Jedi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I talked about that for a bit, and people are starting to share knowing glances and mouthing, and they're starting to throw out all of these character names, and I'm like, those are all my names. Those are all mine. And so that was interesting, and then we're going around point to point to point, and at one point she just stopped.
The shaman's trying to help
Yeah.
them hide the points that Godo has been wanting to
Yes, please, yeah.
sever, and then
she doesn't actually know if it's really going to help them in the long run, but she wants to help them now.
Something.
She also certainly doesn't want the Ascended to just have all the power.
I mean, yeah, anything's better than nothing.
Yeah, and so there was at one point where she clued up a ritual, and then just stares at Kron for a bit and asks somebody what's up with him, and they're like, oh, it was more or less has he been hurt by Godo? And they're like, a little bit, a little lot. And I was like, okay. And then we go down to the point at the fire circle, and she's just like, okay, you come here. And with my crown, it was actually part of her as a person, so when she was snapping it off, it wasn't just breaking hair, it was actually hurting her.
Oh my gosh.
But she was, it can grow back. It's trees, it can grow back, but it still hurts. And so that's what she was doing. She was snapping off a bit, putting it into the point, doing her little ritual, and that was staying there. And so with Kron, she snapped off a bit and just, hold this kind of thing.
That's beautiful.
And the two of them stood there for a bit and held, and then it was really cool, the RP that came from that, because we both sort of let go at the same time, and there was a lot of what are you doing to me? And it's I'm not doing anything. This is all you. This is all you. And with Lady Val just sitting there watching and nodding knowingly kind of thing, not knowing what I'm going to be saying, but everything I'm saying is just matching up with what she's already assuming about Kron and everything like that. And just
so break it down. What's going on?
Sorry, may I?
Yes.
You finish it. I'm sorry.
But I mean, how much do you want me to get into this?
Go for it.
Because her big thing was, you have hope in you.
Yes.
You have hope. Your mother has done it, so can you. And that was.
Do we want to say out loud what? No, that's something they should find.
Yeah, let's let Kron's story develop a little more, because we're gonna have whole episodes about. Yeah.
But it was your mother has done this, and so can you. Anybody can do this, but given that your mother did it, there's more hope in you than anyone else.
Damn.
And the RP from Tony was just phenomenal, because
it was.
I'm pretty sure there was actual water coming from his eyes.
Yeah.
Which Tony's just all testosterone, so that just doesn't happen.
I could feel the tension in the air, in a good way. It was.
And then it sort of clued up. It was really cool. I really enjoyed that bit. I also really enjoyed how Tony himself is just a self-regulating furnace, and I was getting colder and colder. So at some point I had to hold his hand, and it was like, we're just staying here like this.
So I would like to propose then that they get a question.
A question?
Who gets a question?
about so basically Krond, from the shaman to Krond directly, a key piece of information was given at that point that directly relates to how ascended work. And it's not a straight line per se, but there's something there. I'm just...
Tony, do you know? Tony, mark the time. 10:30.
Sorry, I just want to say...
Here's your pen and twine.
when this concept was made up a long time ago, we didn't want it to just be, oh, I'm a powerful person just because I am. There's something else.
Full mechanisms behind
there's
it.
There's definite reasons, everything like that. And
the main thing that I remember about your explanation to me was your mother had it so you can have it as well. It's in your bloodline. That was the key piece of information that I remember.
She also said
I did say some other things.
It doesn't have to be in blood.
That doesn't have to be in blood. It's just that if your mother was capable of such an act, then
surely you must be.
Yeah, then you can be also. You just need to get over yourself.
Get out of your own way.
Well, something that has been on the go for this entire season that no one has known about yet is, should I say this right now?
Up to you.
It might be better to
find out in game.
Yeah, I think we should.
A couple players know. Sorry.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think you know as well.
Yeah.
But something has been wrong with Krond since last season.
Yeah.
And it's the source of his strength.
Okay. I think we should wrap up Kron stuff there because we could literally talk about this for another hour.
Oh yeah.
Because there's so much going on. Yeah.
Do you think they should have a question? They should get a question.
I don't have the right question. I don't think. I don't think I have the right one. I think I need to think. I need to re-listen to this episode over and over and over again, make notes, and then have a question.
I'll get you your pins and twine.
Yes. So before we wrap up, I want to talk about some just season best. So season best moment.
Yeah, how did the season go for you guys? And what was your favorite moments from the season?
It was a logistical nightmare.
Oh, honey.
Well, I mean, we couldn't see it from. Well, I couldn't see it from my.
I mean, I remember a lot of sort of on the season weird, worst, best sort of things was the behind the scenes emergencies. May was just rained out. I spent a good chunk of May after the cleanup, which, the weather held up long enough for us to finish doing the manual labor. And then we went into games to just get soaked. Yep. And I spent a lot of that game running around, making sure tents were taken down, making sure people were getting dry, making sure that this was happening, that was happening. So that was fun for May. And, I mean, it was great because a lot of people just kept going.
Yeah.
New players didn't shut down like you kind of expect you'd expect a new player to, because they're just entering into it, and then suddenly weather happens and they're like, fuck this shit, and they just kind of turtle, and they didn't. None of the new players did, which was great to see. And then people getting injured and just the weather just not cooperating with us
all throughout season.
But
another a blessing though throughout the entire season was for one, Travis very graciously was season casting for us for that season, and we had a lot of people just stepping up and looking to cast, and we needed bodies more than because we had already lost 2 permacast members, more or less.
Yeah.
Not lost, but
they weren't there for this season.
Life and stuff happens.
Right. Yeah.
And so we were spread thin already, and so just having that assurity of extra bodies was really awesome of people. So
Tony, give me some positivity.
The Rakash fight. I loved the Rakash fight that happened.
Oh, that was
in
so
July,
good.
That was really
where
good.
it was just waves and the same. So we put a lot of planning into the apocalypse when the Axis Supersede came down.
No, they were ascended.
But
spoilers.
But when the Axis Supersede came down, there was a lot of planning of okay, when you're doing this, when you two are out here doing that, these two are out or back in doing this and swapping out, and there was a huge dance, and more or less the same amount of planning went into the Rakash fight because there was 4 waves. Each of us had 10 reses each, and it was just go, go, go until you're through your 10 reses. And then we had an hour break. And at that point, I was like, I do not want to see a single cast member in cast cabin. I want you resting. I want you eating. I want you drinking. I do not want to see you wondering what next.
Yeah.
You'll come in 10 minutes too, and we'll do what's next. And that just kept, because as much as the players' resources were denuding, players could still be like, oh, I'm feeling tired, so I'm going to go have a nap, and while other people can go and take this fight.
Yeah.
Cass couldn't have that nap partway through the fight. So yeah, we were coming with fresh resources, but our bodies were dying.
That was exhausting.
But I mean, I got these weird... I'm very proud of the injuries I've gotten over season.
You would be.
So, like, I still have it on my thumb. In June game, I was playing Lizard Folk, and I was up against Dagran and his big-ass shield, and I ended up getting this scratch down my thumb, and that's fine. It happens. I still have that scar on my thumb.
Cute.
And then in July, during the Rakash, I was up against Pierre and his big old staff, which just sounds so wrong in so many ways. And we were locked up, and I could feel my wrist going, hi, I'd like to break now. If you could stop that, please. I would like to break now. So I just released the hold and everything, and I had this huge goose egg on the side of my...
I remember that.
Yeah, which I didn't tell anybody about, because I knew the moment I did, people would be like, you can't play anymore. So
Yeah.
I can still wield a sword. I can do this. And, like, having a club, and then after game, people going, I was scared of you as a person with that club.
Yeah, no, that was real.
What about Erica?
Oh.
Well, what was your favorite part of the season?
My favorite part of the season. I'm really proud of Asher character development this season, because especially like the stuff with Orin, like that all started as a joke. People were like shipping them together, and then we were like, oh, let's do a red wedding, and then we were like, oh, well, maybe let's do like a serious wedding, and then it was like, oh, like I don't know, but like this season, like it was especially serious, like basically I've gotten to a point with Asher that I never thought I would get to, where it's like I'm ready to just like leave all this behind and have a family, which is like the total opposite of where she started from. Like she's really come like super full circle. So I'm really proud of that. And I really liked Pumpkin Brawl, and I really liked the Rakash fight. Those were my two like big things. Oh, and Marigold was fun. Those are my big things this season.
Misty, was it? Yeah, it would have been June. No, July. Yeah, July, because Misty came back in August. It was a lot of fun being Misty in July, because there was the whole Godo and Kron thing, and Misty just trying. It was great, because I'm supposed to be a 10-year-old, but I'm actually an adult. I'm 11-year-old now, but I'm actually an adult. But Tony is just strong AF, so there I can be like, I'm putting all my strengths into this, and Tony's still like, yep, you're just as strong as a 10-year-old. I got this.
What about you, Rob? What was your big moments this season?
Oh man, bringing out the tree creature.
Okay.
It didn't go off exactly as I wanted it to, but more or less it worked. Because I've been playing that for like a couple of years, and so it was very special. So and that was the one actually.
That was what we were talking about.
Okay,
cool.
Actually, in May, that had been out before. I walked the forest. Nobody saw it.
Oh.
It's big.
So now that it's canon, you feel good. Or not that it's canon, but now that everybody knows that it's a thing.
People saw it.
Yeah.
It was that was pretty cool. Went a little bit wonky, but I was happy about that. I was happy about the Ascended stuff, about all that. A lot of deep lore starting to come to light, and I'm honestly really, really, really excited to see you guys figure it out. To see you unearth this, because oh man, there's just so much there that we've been working really hard at to piece. Like when you figure it out, pieces will fall into place, and you'll be like, that's why this.
If we're having such a hard time figuring it out, that means it's well made lore. If they can figure it out easly,
I will
not
say
good.
There are a lot of pieces already there. It's just that it's scattered. It's very scattered.
Okay.
There have been a few big hints. There have been a lot of little hints. It's honestly a matter of the the township as a whole coming together and sharing everything with each other and trying to figure out what's going on here. Because right now, even at the end of this season, it's possible for any single player to defeat an Ascended.
But don't you know what happens when we have a town meeting?
No, I know.
Yeah, I do.
But I think that's important to understand is that
Sharon's face. Yep.
anyone can beat an Ascended.
This is
But
what I'm saying.
there's
I think
something-
it's the power of love.
It was real.
Tony's like, shut up.
It was real fun when I was the shaman, and I don't know what led to the comment, but it was essentially like, if you can be unified, and Jerry was like, "Oh, but we are unified," and I said, "Are you?"
No, you're McFucking not.
And Pierre was like, "No, we're not." And Jerry's like, "But we are, and we can be," and Pierre's like, "But we're not."
When you guys are hit with something big and everybody comes together to fight, yes. But then after that, yeah, all the characters have their differences, and they.
If you leave us alone for 10 minutes, we'll try to kill someone.
but that's the thing, and Pierre quite astutely noted. It's like Nero showed that this last night. It's like we're divided. So.
I just had an idea. Tony?
No, lashing your arms together won't work. That's not what I mean.
Group hug.
The most cryptic hint I can give you is it's not what you expect. But when
Okay.
but
Brilliant.
but
I'll
but when
throw
you,
that in the garbage
when you
then.
find out what it is, you'll be like, how did I not expect that?
It's not what we expect. When we find out, it's I should have
Exactly
expected it.
what you expected.
I'm serious. This was when we had to tell Alex stuff.
Yeah.
He was like, oh my gosh, it all
It-
makes sense.
yeah.
No, they'll never figure it out. They need my brain.
Tony, give me some positivity from this season. What was your
Whew,
What was your
man.
big moments?
I loved this season.
I did too.
This season was a really great season. There was a lot of really good RP moments. There was a lot of high tension, but like it was good kind of tension. It was enough tension for us to walk on like the edge of a knife and be too afraid to step to either side, for fear of falling off.
Mm-hmm.
It was
why the
that perfect blend of if we don't at least there was enough fear of dying, but not enough fear to like not go ham and.
It felt like there was a lot on the line.
There was.
Yeah.
This season felt like there was a lot on the line. There's
Season
still a
is
lot on
called
the line.
The Dark Side of Unknown.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And each individual event had its own great memories. My favorite personally was, of course, the Rakash fight, but every single interaction that I had with Godo and every single chance that I had to develop Kron to the character was a special moment.
This was really this was your time to shine, for sure.
Well, this is definitely
you
my time
did
to
it.
get my ass handed to me.
Though still, there is nothing quite so terrifying as seeing Tony running full bore through the woods at you.
I would pee.
I was. So this was an event that you weren't feeling well, so you couldn't. It was
Yeah.
the August event, and Misty got brought back, and they managed to find Misty, but Misty was terrified, so she was running away from everybody. And Kron was like, "Well, no, I'm coming to get you now." And I remember I was scrambling away, and I look back to essentially see where my chasers are, and I just see Tony booking it through the trees, not even caring, brain just snapping, and I'm like, "Oh, sweet fuck, he's coming to get me!"
Yeah, everyone else was like ducking under branches and trying to avoid this little twig, and I was like, "Gah!"
Oh my gosh. So we've been recording for 2 hours, so
This is the longest episode we've ever recorded.
I figured
Sorry.
I would let it run a little long because it's our season wrap up. But I don't know how 2 hours is going to export, so I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you both for coming in so much. Hopefully we'll see you at the beginning of next season to sort of do all this again. And get some insight before that. I want to end off this episode by saying, just for those who listened to the whole 2 hours, I shot Degran Brightforge in the butthole.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, so you can all live with that knowledge now. This was our last game of the season, but of course it is not our last game ever. So, Tony,
Hey, Erica.
I'll see you at game.
See you at game, Erica.
Sharon and Rob, I'll see you at game.
See ya, okay.
Have a good day, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much for listening. Check us out on Instagram, all that stuff. Who cares? Bye.
See ya.